We just finished watching Mr. Holmes. So based on a novel, A Slight Trick of Mine by Mitch Cullen, Mr. Holmes reimagines Sherlock Holmes as a real person whose adventures have been turned into best-selling novels by his friend and partner, Dr. John Watson. Now old and failing in health, the famously rational detective is forced to engage for the first time with his emotions as his mental powers dwindle. So I loved it. I thought it was very, very good. And both of you, gosh, your acting awards, your accolades go on. I've got, I could print pages of these things. I mean, you not so much.
Where did you get that? Did you Google?
No, I use Bing. I Binged it. So what drew you to both to this film? What was so unique about it?
The money. or lack of it, actually. You've heard of independent movies. Translated means cheap movies. Well, I'm sorry, I've started talking first.
Go.
It's a wonderful part.
Right.
I mean, any actor of my generation would have jumped at the chance to play Sherlock Holmes in his prime, and then Sherlock Holmes in his decline. I mean, two performances in the same film. It's a little bit like doing Gandalf the Grey and Gandalf the White. They're the same but different. And so that, but Laura will tell you, the script arrives and it says it's from Bill Condon, and your life stops while you recover breath, and then you open it and know you're going to say yes because it's Bill, and who we've both worked with very happily.
So you've both been nominated.
So that, initially that, and then my feeling is if a script looks like a film or play that I would like to see, then I get intrigued. If I read something and I think I really wouldn't want to go and see that, then I don't get involved. But in this case,
Same, Laura, same for you?
Sure. First off, it was Bill Condon, who's our friend and director. And there's certain directors who you will do anything for. You have such good experiences working with them that they whisper your name and you will show up for 2 lines. I mean, you do anything for them. And Bill is certainly one of those people. So it was Bill in combination with Ian.
Right.
And then on top of that, Sherlock Holmes. And I've been a Sherlock Holmes fanatic since I was a child. So those three, and it was filmed in England, for God's sake. So all of those things combined, it was just, kind of too good to be true.
Not the money, though.
No.
Well, yeah, so you said you...
And here we are, we're doing this for free. God bless Google, of course.
I gave...
because we want you all to see this film, and you've seen it for free. But beyond this particular audience, you don't go around talking about a film that you haven't enjoyed making and haven't enjoyed watching. So we both feel strongly about it and love it.
Well, Laura, you said, yes, indeed. You said that you were a big Sherlock Holmes fan since childhood, right? Right. So Bill Condon comes to you. You weren't planning on doing anything for a while, right?
No, I had a baby a year and a half ago.
And such a baby.
I had a sweet little boy who's madly in love with Ian. And Bill came over to meet the baby, and we spent a little time together. And he said, "So, when do you think you're going to go back to work?" I said, "Oh, I'm not. I have no plans." And he goes, "Oh, okay. And then the next day I got an offer to do the movie. So I wasn't planning on going back to work, but, for Bill and, I got myself off the couch and strapped the baby to myself, and we flew to London, and that was that.
So did you know Ian was attached to it beforehand?
I did. Oh, yeah. I did.
Was that part of the decision, or would you have taken it otherwise?
Well, it was certainly an added bonus. I mean, absolutely. Because Ian and I have been sort of fond acquaintances for maybe 20 years, but have never really spent any time together other than through our mutual friend Armistead Maupin. So
And we were both in the television version of
Tales of the City.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, so
Marianne, but I played a tiny part in one of the episodes and we didn't meet, but we
Yeah.
technically have worked together.
yeah, so we've known each other through Armistead for a very long time. So I was just happy to be able to have the opportunity to claim him as my own friend, which I was able to do. So that's been a real joy.
Well, you've both been nominated for Academy Awards in films you've done with Bill Condon. So did that have any part? I guess you're friends with Bill from a long time ago, and you've worked with him in Gods and Monsters years and years back. So how much did working with Bill have towards your decision in coming onto this film?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
totally. You know,
Okay.
you wouldn't want to play a wonderful part unless you felt there was someone going to guide you through.
Right.
Yeah.
Because part of a wonderful part is that you're not exactly certain that you're going to be able to play it. And
Yeah.
if you are, you're going to need help. And Bill's there to help.
So did you approach this as two completely different characters? Like there's the real life Sherlock Holmes who's aging and frail, and then there's
Well, I thought I'd do that for the old man, and I thought I'd do that for the young. That's what I thought. Well, they're the same person. They've got the same name. They sort of look alike, but one is in his prime and one is in his decline, and it's not as difficult as it looks.
But there's the Sherlock Holmes in his prime that Dr. Watson has painted him to be, and then what he actually is. So there's in essence three different characters, no?
Ah, good thinking. Yes. And of course, you can't be certain that when Sherlock Holmes says, "I'm nothing like the character that Watson portrayed," that he's right. He may be wrong. That's up for the audience to judge. So is that 4 characters? This is a multi-layered movie.
Yes, it was. So Mrs. Monroe, the character, has never appeared in any Sherlock Holmes stories before. Did you enjoy that fact that you had like a clean slate, or would you have preferred something to be there?
I didn't care one way or the other, really. It was just she's got spirit, Mrs. Monroe, you know, and she's been through a lot, and she's tired, and she's scared, and she's grieving, and you know, there's just a lot there to play.
Right.
You know, so, and the fact that it's a new constellation of people around a Sherlock Holmes that we haven't seen is fun.
And it being a British tale, of course, it's concerned with class, social class.
It's a
And this is a privileged man,
Right.
Holmes. He's taken advantage of his brain and his capacity for hard work. That's true, but you just feel life hasn't been too difficult for him to find himself in the position where he can be fulfilled. But poor old working class
Old?
mum, old in the sense of
Beg your pardon.
no, old.
Oh.
No, not even oldish. No, I got it absolutely wrong. Sorry.
There was a lot of makeup.
Poor Mrs. Monroe doesn't have the advantage. She's had to make her own way, and she's a widow, and she's got a little boy she loves, and she's trying to do her best, but against the odds.
And the fact that this movie takes place after the war, and thinking about all of the women who were war widows and what that did to an entire generation of women who lost their husbands, who then all of a sudden had to be employed in areas that maybe they weren't qualified for. I mean, Mrs. Monroe's not the greatest housekeeper. She's clearly not a good cook. She doesn't enjoy it. You know, these women found themselves having to do things out of desperation in order to support themselves, and if they were lucky enough to have children, they had to raise their children on their own. So and I had never I don't know why I had never thought about that, but I hadn't. You know, that whole, and all those women who then had to move, they had to migrate, they couldn't stay where they were, they had to give up their homes. It was not an easy time.
I lived in the north of England, in a relatively safe part of the country during the Second World War, and we had what did they call it? Evacuees, a mother And
Yeah.
2 kids came up from London, left the husband behind, a firefighter, and they just came and lived with us for a year. Extraordinary things that we did. And Holmes has just gone through the war. He wouldn't know that the war had happened as far as he's concerned. He's just been looking after his bees. She's lost her husband.
Right.
Her life's come to an end. And what does he do? He goes off to Japan, not to investigate Hiroshima. It comes as a rather surprise to him that all that. He's looking for some bloody plant to keep himself alive. He's a really, really, really selfish person.
Right.
And so I think Mrs. Munro's bitterness is absolutely understandable, but Holmes's selfishness is not.
Right.
And it's a nice morality tale, isn't it? At the end, they come together. She gets some sort of security. She gets her son's love back, as it were, and Holmes discovers that he's got a heart. Mm-hmm. And then they hold hands, don't they, briefly?
Yeah.
So speaking of the family unit, what was it like working with Milo Parker? He was 10 at the time, right?
I think he might.
Yeah.
I think he might have been 11. I think he might have been 11. I'm not quite sure. He's a tiny, sweet sprite of a boy, and he's just adorable. He's got that face, and oh God, that face that can look very, very old and very, very young at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, and he's. I've been very lucky in that I've worked with, I don't know about you, but I've worked with wonderful children. You know, there's that old saying, like, don't work with animals and children. And I've really loved the kids that I've worked with. And Milo is from a wonderful family and came to work every day cheerful and wanting to learn and happy to be there. And I had great fun with Milo.
He flirted a lot with the makeup women.
If anybody in the audience has questions, step up to these mics. We're running a little short on time, so we can cut to the audience Q&A pretty quickly here. Watching Milo, I believe, it's always so interesting to me because I feel like with a child actor, with a story this deep, that children actors can make or break a story for me because they're either like indicating or they're being the character, right? So I think he did. There's no question here. I'm just telling you, I think he did an extremely good job.
He did, and I will say, and I hope if Milo were to hear this, he wouldn't take it wrongly. When you're acting, you're concerned with yourself. That's it. That's your responsibility. You shouldn't be worrying about any other people. But I was worried about Milo because although I was getting the performance and he was responding and doing what was suggested, I thought, I don't think this performance is really quite as vibrantly on the moment as it should be. But I was wrong. And I shouldn't have been bothering about that. I should have been getting on with my own performance, and I learned something from that. So I was surprised when I saw it. It was the same when a great English actress, Sybil Thorndike, who did very few films, but was in Laurence Olivier's film called The Sleeping Prince, I think, or something like that, with Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe.
Are these names familiar to you? Not Sybil Thorndike, perhaps, but certainly Marilyn Monroe, and there she was. No, Thorndike said to friends and the director, this woman can't act. I'm talking about Marilyn Monroe. She's not giving a performance. I can't hear her. It's just absolute disaster. And she saw the film and realised that her own performance was the disaster because it was too big for the camera, and the genius, which was of the relationship between Marilyn Monroe and the camera, which unmatched really, had passed by even the eagle eye of an experienced actor, and I'm afraid it was a bit like that with me and Milo. Anyway. He's a star now. He's working with Spielberg, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question?
Sure. Thank you both so much for being here. I really enjoyed the film. And fun fact, whenever I'm asked the question of if you were to have lunch with one living person, it's Sir Ian McKellen, so I'm like having heart palpitations, so I'm really excited. My one question, I think back to when I was a musician in high school, and I had these moments that I would call really poignantly memorable during a performance, whether it was a certain string of music or a certain piece that gave me kind of, goosebumps.
What did you play?
I have a checkered past. I played the tuba for many years, but it was in an orchestra, and I had these moments. I was wondering if each of you would share a moment in your acting career where you may refer back to a scene that you performed in, and every time you watch it, you get those hairs on the back of your neck that stand up. That was something that was very poignantly memorable to you.
I can't stand to watch myself.
Oh yeah?
And I just can't. I can't take it.
Or how about in the moment of actually doing it?
In memory of the theater is a totally different situation. I have a very hard time watching myself. I love watching everybody else in the movie, but but for memories of being in the theater, there's a bunch of them. And they don't happen very often, but when they do, and they usually happen within like 10-second periods of feeling like, oh, that everything aligns perfectly, and there's this wonderful sense of suspense where you've completely stopped working on the play, and the play is completely working on you, and it sort of just carries you through in a way that really is thrilling. And I did a production of The Crucible with Liam Neeson, and I think I have wonderful memories of that. So that's my answer. Ian.
Well, a film close to my heart is one that I helped to write with the aid of William Shakespeare, Richard III, and I also produced it. And without my efforts, we wouldn't have raised the funds to make it. And so, and I hadn't at that point really played much with any success for the cinema. And I did have the idea that the opening speech of the play and the film, Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York, should be a public speech to his brother, newly made king. And of course he wants to be king himself, Richard, but we don't know that, not in those opening lines. And halfway through that rather long speech, I knew from having played it in the theatre, there was a change in tone. The public speech suddenly turns private. I mean, only Shakespeare could do this.
Yeah.
And you catch your breath when you're doing it every night, and you realize this is the moment when you've got to take the whole audience into your insides and let them know that you're different inside. And I had the idea that halfway through the speech in the movie, we would go from the public situation into the most private place of all, really, which is the place where you urinate. So suddenly, in the middle of the speech, the public man is, he's deformed, he's undoing his flies and having a pee. And every time I see it, and I don't see it that often, but I think, what a brilliant idea. You can see it on my website, I think.
Yeah, over here.
Thank you.
I have a question on the how much leverage as an actor do you have of changing things in the script? For example, along the movie we learned that, hey, Holmes learns that logic alone doesn't really solve the problem. It solves on paper, but not really solved because the woman died and the husband was really angrily looking at Holmes, and Holmes feels guilt and realizes that he hasn't really solved the case. So what Holmes does isn't quite of contrary to what you would probably expect like Sherlock Holmes to do. I would like Sherlock Holmes to say, hey, I learned something to do and apply to a new case, rather than that kind of was a letdown for me. Like, hey, Holmes was a hero. Like, I was thinking of that. And they're, oh no, why is he taking on so much guilt and running away from everything? As an actor, if I just did you get the script and say, hey, I'm not going to play this Holmes, I'm probably going to change it. He should be a hero.
Well, I started acting and have gone on acting with total respect for the script.
That's all you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, we are actors. We don't initiate it, really. I mean, rare circumstances, we rarely do anyway. And if you're dealing with Shakespeare, this is the master. And if it's Chekhov, Anton Chekhov, even in translation, these are the words. This is what you have to play with. And you must, if you're doing a play by a new play or an old play in which the author's long dead, you must rehearse it with the assumption that any minute now he might come back from the bathroom and say, "What are you doing to my?" And that being so, that's my training. That's how it's the same when I read the script of a film. No way do I have confidence that I could contribute anything to a script that's been gone over maybe for 2 or 3 or 4 years by a writer. However, when Lord of the Rings, I had in my pocket throughout, and sometimes when I'm striding across Middle-earth, the gown catches, and you could see that inside here is the big, thick 3-volume paperback Lord of the Rings, because I was always referring to it and saying to Peter Jackson, "Look, you've missed out a line here." I never got my own way, and and I did point out to him that Gandalf in the book never says, "You shall not pass." He says, "You cannot pass." It's not as good, is it?
No. So we have time for one last question over here.
Sorry.
I know.
So I guess my question is kind of serious, and now I feel bad that it's the last one.
Well, let's do one other. There's one other person behind her.
Okay.
We did 2 more questions.
Yeah, talk to your people. I'm okay with that.
So I was just wondering, so Sir Ian McKellen, in the movie, you're playing like Sherlock, who's like a bit older than you, or like 20 years older than you, or something.
Much older.
Yes. Sorry. And I was just wondering if like playing characters who are like pretty old, and I thought Sherlock was gonna die, if that like gives you any sort of existential crises, or if it's weird, or just because that's how I would react. I don't know.
What was the question?
Oh, sorry.
Did playing someone old make you existentially scared?
I find the older I get, the less scared I get. In fact, I'm not scared of dying. I mean, dying's a part of life, isn't it? And frankly, solves a lot of problems. But, you know, actors do... have you died a lot as an actor?
A few times. Not a lot.
No, but
a few
as you
times.
get older, and you
Yeah.
will...
Yeah, no. I've died twice that I can think of.
Yeah, there you go. Well,
Yeah.
there's more
I've
to
had
come.
more troubled marriages than I've done.
Yeah.
A lot of troubled marriages.
Yes.
But I've died twice.
But I've died quite a lot, and it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle as to what to do, because I haven't actually seen any body or any animal die. Well, we've all seen actors dying, haven't we? And I think what would be wonderful to do on stage is for you to think that the actor has died. He just managed to say the last line of the part, and then...
Didn't Molière die on stage?
Did he?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
And...
Irene Ryan died on stage. A few people have died on stage.
Really?
Yeah.
But the trick of it would be that he hadn't really died, but you thought he had. And I did see David Bradley in a Royal Shakespeare, or it was a National Theatre production of Henry IV, Part 2 by Shakespeare. and he's playing the old king, and he'd had his scene, long speech, and he said he had to die now. So he leaves the stage to die, and I thought, I'm witnessing my friend David Bradley. He's dying. He's not going to make it to the wings. And when the messenger came on and said the king's dead, oh, well, now that's wonderful, isn't it? I mean, imagine if we could act like that all the time.
Because the answer to your question is...
Does that answer your question?
No.
I guess so.
All right, now, for real last question.
Okay, thanks. I just loved this film so much.
Oh,
it was
good.
so good, and one of the things that blew me away, and I'm going to have to go away and think about, is all the levels that we saw of both reality and the direction of the narrative. Because, Laura, your part, you were the beginning, the middle, and end in what was the film's present time, and Sir Ian, you had a non-linear existence, and you had to decide for yourself as an actor what was real and what was not. So I guess, are those things that drew you to this? And in Condon's work, you see this a lot, like in Gods and Monsters as well. There's what is reliable about memory, and how do you deal with that as an actor?
Very good.
That's why she has playwright.
Oh,
Playwright.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bill Condon's made 4 movies I can just think of at the top of my head. Gods and Monsters, Kinsey, the Assange movie, I don't know.
Fifth Estate. The Fifth Estate.
Yes, Fifth Estate, and now Mr. Holmes. And the central character is brilliant, uniquely achieving, and I bet mad. And Bill wants to know where that comes from. Funny, isn't it? In a man who likes nothing better than to direct a musical. And he's doing Beauty and the Beast at the moment, and I'm in it. I play a clock. But on that matter of memory, that is all a part of it, and I don't know. I'm not sure I could answer it.
Well, there's something amazing when you work, and this is, I think, one of the reasons why we love working with Bill. We can look at a script, which is sort of like a blueprint for us. It's sort of like an architect who does a blueprint, a score for musicians. It's sort of the basic thing that we then go into, and we try and, our brain sort of works like chess people. We can sort of look through it the way that someone who's playing chess can go from move to move to move to move. But what Bill does is that he has not only a narrative mind, and an understanding of the technicalities of film production and also what actors do, but he has a cinematic mind. And I am constantly amazed at how he tells a story cinematically and thematically, is stuff that you've just, and how he ties, the visual and the thematic together. And that's what really great filmmakers do. And it's always sort of, because we're not aware that that's happening when we're working on it. You see, we work at scene to scene to scene to scene, and we have our own arcs, and we see, hopefully you think beyond your own arc, and how does my character help this character move into the next scene, and all those sort of things. But then and then when you actually see a movie that's visually also told in the way that only film can do, it's really, you're like, oh my God, I had no idea that was happening. Like, wow. So, and that certainly, this movie was the first time I saw it. It's so visually beautiful. Beautiful. So it's been a joy to be a part of.
Yay.
Yeah.
Before we say goodbye, can I say something?
Please.
Nothing to do with Mr. Holmes.
Okay.
When I was a lad, and I wanted to know something. A fact or
A definition, perhaps?
definition is relatively easy
Yeah. Yeah.
because we have a
Dictionary.
and my dictionary at home is one of my most precious possessions. I love reading it. but something that I couldn't access at home. And we had lots of books at home. I would catch a bus into town, the number 2 or the number 4, and hope I got the times right and go to the library. And it'd be a reference library, of course. And I would stand in line there, no speaking aloud. Everything was conducted in whispers. Have you got a book? Yes, come sit down. So I'd sit down, and 15 minutes later, she would have done her job, and she would have gone and collected a series of books which she thought might contain the answer to my question. And there'd be, a pile of books. And I think they're sometimes brought on a trolley, and I was given a desk, and I was allowed to sit at it. No speaking. No marking the books, of course. No indication, no little post-it notes. No, we just had to go through these books. And maybe on the 7th book, I would find what I was looking for. And then I had to catch the bus back home. Google. It's the biggest change in my life. And it's a change, I think, without any regrets. Except you'll never have the joy of doing all the work yourself. And, when you finally get there in the book, and there it is. And it's yours. You never, ever forget it.
But these are the people who do all the work. These are the people who do the work, so that for us it goes, whoo! So they actually do that.
Do you go to the library?
Ladies and gentlemen, Laura Linney and Sir Ian McKellen. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Take you guys off now. All right. Yeah, we go right now.